It's really interesting though. Rogan is so simple. Like
Uh-huh.
he's so simple. I was listening to him in the Bernie Sanders one. That was an interesting podcast. He what I love about Rogan is he can handle anybody with any type of belief system, whatever.
Yeah.
He's respectful and he can interview them and he can really find the points to agree with and the things that he doesn't, like he's a very good podcast. He's a very good host. He's a good interviewer.
The cool thing about his podcast is he's genuinely curious about what the person's gonna say. There's not an agenda to like sell a movie or push a book or propaganda of a particular message or go to the narrative. He's really curious, and that's what his standard has always been. His standard has been like, I'm only bringing people on that I'm interested in talking to. Just because someone is famous or someone is important or someone has a special thing coming out doesn't mean they're going to come on a show. And it's like I'm genuinely interested in what this person has to say. But that's the key, I think, to anything. And we talked to a client yesterday about this, about standards. Is Rogan has his standards, and it doesn't matter if nobody knows you. That's not the standard. You have to be important. You have to be special. You have to get me views and clicks and downloads. No, it's the standard is, am I interested in talking to you?
Right.
Because if you're interested in talking to somebody, you can talk for a very long time. You can ask questions. You can be engaged in the conversation, not waiting for your turn to speak. And that's what we tell people a lot in our business is you have to have standards. I mean, the book that we wrote, The Atomic Game Changer, is 9 principles, aka standards. It's like if you don't have a standard at home and if you don't have a standard in your business, then nobody knows what to
Hmm.
expect to be done or what the outcomes potentially could be,
Right.
and they just kind of sit around waiting, and then people may think, your employees may think they're doing a great job, and you may be disappointed. And it's just because there weren't clear standards. We had somebody who is getting social media done. They're paying somebody else to get their social media recorded, edited, and posted, and they were disappointed. Like they were like, oh, they didn't post, and they're waiting for me to do this and that, and because there's no standard. It's not a saying like, okay, here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna show up, I'm gonna record, and then I want you to post, and then I want you to post no matter what, like whatever you think is good, or the other, like don't post anything until you run it through me and I give the approval. But each thing that we do in our life and our business has to have a set of standards. Some people may call them boundaries, some people may call them values, but you need to have that established for yourself first, and then whoever you're conducting life and business with second.
Yeah. I mean, listen, standards are behaviors. They're behaviors of your company. They're behaviors that form your identity as a company, as a CEO. All of the things that you do, those standards, behaviors, expectations, whatever you want to call them. I mean, it's really a way of behaving. And if you don't have good standards, if you don't know what your standards are, you struggle with everything else that you do. Your business becomes chaotic. Your clients don't know what to expect from you. Like standards are the cornerstone of everything that you do to form your identity as a company. And if you're going to become this big company or you're going to become this success, not even big, if you're going to become the success that you desire, you have to have those standards in place. And this time of year, beginning of the year, is a great time to take a look at, all right, what are our standards for this year? What do we need to change? Because standards have to change too based on what's going on. You have to adapt your standards a bit. And we've joked with some people that like we've said this before, the bar is set so low right now in society for a lot of things that people are struggling with their standards because they want to still maintain this higher level of standard. But when the bar is set low, it's really hard to maintain that.
Well, like last night, I'm very exhausted this morning recording this. Last night, I was woken up at midnight by the electric company putting a new telephone pole in. There was a car accident. It happened days ago, though. It's not like it happened today and it was a
Right.
fire hazard and they had to do this. It happened 3 days ago. And at 12 a.m., they got trucks and drills and hammers and compressors going outside my house. And then they cut the power. Like, I wanted to do something about it. I wanted to call them and I'm like, what are they gonna do? They're gonna be like, "This is the only time we had to do it," and I'm not gonna effectuate change. I could have complained, I could have maybe did something. Maybe they would have been like, "Oh, we're sorry, we'll give you a discount on something." I highly doubt they do that. But my point is, in my town, we have standards, at least for, like, construction and landscaping,
Mhm.
okay? I pay a lot of property taxes, and you're not allowed to come and cut the grass before 8 a.m. You're just not allowed to do it.
Right. Mhm.
Okay, and commercial landscapers are not allowed to come on Sundays. Like, there's a standard for those things. There's a standard for, like, where your fence is. There's a standard for, if your grass gets too high, you will get a summons. Why is there not standards for the electric company? They're a public works company. We don't have a choice. It's monopoly. There's only one. So the thing is like I have a standard of, okay, I expect not to be woken up at midnight by construction work being done, but they don't have that standard. And maybe my town does, but they didn't they're going beyond that standard.
Right.
Maybe my town doesn't. But the point
Well,
is like once your standard is broken, right? Now it screwed me up, right? It
mhm.
made me pissed, it made me disappointed, made me upset, made me think about these things. But if I would have known before that, the standard is when there's electrical work, we do it 24 hours a day because it's an important service.
Right.
I probably would have felt a little bit better, but I was unclear of the standard. I still am right now.
Right, well, that's what I was gonna say, like, maybe this is part of their emergency standard that they have 72 hours to make a repair that needs to be made if it's not, emergent, right? Maybe it's an urgent, like, there's classifications and levels, right? But if that's never communicated, if that's not understood, then we don't know what the standard is, and that's where people get confused and woken up at 2 o'clock in the morning, 12 o'clock at night to 2 o'clock in the morning, and then you lose a whole night of sleep because that standard was never clear, but they may be following their standard. That's the thing. If you don't know, you don't know what you don't know.
And this is the reason I'm expressing this is because there's two parts of it. There's establishing a standard and then communicating a standard. Because if you have a standard and nobody knows, then how can anybody meet that standard? And if you don't have a standard, then what do you expect to be done? It's going to be how whatever that person's standard is. It's like, okay, I have people that I know that will always be on time. Their standard is I must be early. Okay. Early. If you're early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late. If you're late, don't bother fucking showing up. Okay. That's my standard. So I pass that to my kids. And my
Mhm.
daughter gets a little bit of anxiety if we're not early.
Right.
Right. Like we drove to her competition this weekend for gymnastics, by the way. She placed first. Very, very proud of her. First competition of the season. So we were driving there and she had to be there at 8:30 a.m. and was all the way out east on Long Island. So I make sure we're gonna get there on time. As I'm driving, I'm telling her with ETA is gonna be, I'm like, we're gonna be there 3 minutes early. And she's like, oh, thanks, Dad. And she's comfortable because if I would have been like, hey, we're gonna be there on time, she'd be like, oh my God. And I don't want her
Yep.
getting nervous about going to compete.
Mhm.
So I can feel her energy inside the car. Like she's starting to get nervous again. I'm like, hey, still says we're gonna be 3 minutes early. That's great. And she's like, oh, okay. And you could feel, because
Yeah.
she has a standard, I must be early. It's not gonna affect um there's no consequence to her of there being there or stretching early or being with her team or anything else, but she has set a standard. But I know it. So I can make the car ride better for her, better for me, better for her competition, better for my wife that's sitting there with me, not to, double the anxiety and stress because the standards are clearly communicated.
They clearly communicated and they shape who now she is, right? Like, I think about when Andrew was he was, I think 8 or 9 years old, and he was playing his first travel baseball, and he had an older coach that we had hired, and some kids would show up to practice sometimes, in sweatpants and or shorts, and the coach was like, "You're a baseball player. You show up in baseball attire. I don't care what it's for. It's baseball activity. You show up in baseball pants, ready to go with everything that you need." And Andrew adopted that standard, and to this day does not show up to any baseball event without proper attire on, without his baseball pants, and that has shaped
Right.
him as a player, right? That shaped him as a leader too now on his team because like Lily, he has a standard that when the coach says be there an hour before, it really means to Andrew hour and 15 before because I want to be the first one there because I'm the want to be the leader of the team and this is what I need to do. But if you don't communicate what the standards are supposed to be, you can't have the people execute. And this is what happens in business. This is what we were talking about with our client last night. Like, okay, your team is not billing the number of hours they're supposed to be billing. Do they know that that's the standard? Have you set that and communicated that?
So this goes all the way back to what we were saying in the beginning is like there's never been a lower barrier of entry to have success, right? And I think it's because there is a lack of standards across society. Even civil discourse, you're out there in public and it's like, do you know there's other people in the world? Like there's the standards have been lowered so far or they are non-existent that people are just off on their own doing their own thing. And it's a thousand different standards when you're standing around a thousand people. And it's like, well, what are we supposed to do here?
That's why post COVID has been so weird of a time. When you think about, I think COVID is the like, I think being sequestered in our homes and isolated from people shifted a ton of standards. How people show up at work, when they show up at work, what do they dress like when they come to like it has changed everything. Even things that were once so formal now have become more informal just because, like listen, most men these days do not wear a tie to an event anymore, right? Cuz ties are breeding ground as a former clinician and a physician assistant. I never wore a tie because it was a breeding ground for more germs, right? Like it was just everybody was sneezing on you and coughing on you and that's why doctors don't wear ties anymore. But like those things have become all relaxed and no one said that they're relaxed. No one set that standard. It became a societal thing that you conform to. Be-
It's not that no one set the standard, that is it. No one set the standard. Oh, you don't have to wear a tie anymore. It's the standard was eliminated.
right.
So now there is no standard.
Good point. Good
Uh,
point.
you may have a personal standard. Your family may have established a standard. Your company may have established a standard. But in general, it's not like, okay, when you go to work, you wear a suit and tie. When you go, you do this thing. When you show up to work, I heard the greatest, one of the greatest things ever about showing up on time. They said, like, let's say you have to show up to work at 8 o'clock, right? It's 8 o'clock to go, not 8 o'clock to show.
Oh, good point. Mm-hmm.
When you have to show up for something, that's when it's starting, not when you arrive. 8 o'clock to go, not 8 o'clock to show, which is why I tell my kids if you're early, you're on time. Because now you get there 5, 10, 15 minutes early and you can get settled in. You could put your coat away. You could tie your shoelaces. You could open your computer, whatever it is that you're doing. So then when it's 8 o'clock, you can go.
Go. Exactly. Well, go becomes 8:15 in those cases, 8:30 because I gotta get my cup of coffee and I gotta do this and I gotta do that, and I have all this other stuff to do before I can get started and go. So, that's where the standards become very laxed.
But this is where what I'm saying is I think standards in general have just been left to people's own devices now, you know?
Well, I think that's the point too is that they have to be reinforced. If you have a team of people that you're leading and not everyone is following the standards and you don't address that person who's not following the standard and other people are going to do what that person is doing and before you know it you've lost the standard's gone and then you're wondering why your company is struggling. It's because the reinforcement wasn't there and it's the accountability around the standard that is necessary. And I think that's part of what has been lost in society. We've kind of just conformed to what everybody else was doing, so we've lost the standards, and it's a little scary to me when you think about it because we were raised in a very, very different time. If you went to work, you wore a suit and you wore a tie and you would dress nice and you don't show up in jeans and a t-shirt. But now that standard is shifted because that's a very acceptable way. Look at teachers these days. Like when I drop the kids off, the teachers are going in and like they look like sometimes they're in pajamas. And I saw one teacher come out of school wearing UGG slippers. I'm like, you wore those all day in your classroom? What kind of standard are you projecting for kids? Like, and then we wonder why our kids are not doing what they're supposed to do. It's because they get the influence from other people that this is okay. Like showing up in jeans, like the uniform in high school and public high school right now for everybody is sweatpants and sweatshirts. That was gym day attire when we were kids. Everything else you wore jeans or you wore pants or you like all of these things have become way too lax, and we wonder why society is in the shape that it's in is because we've let go of so many standards that when it comes to enforcing any standard we cause there's a lot of turmoil and people have a lot to say about it, and it gets all out of hand because it's like, oh my god, we're putting a standard on things. Well, yeah, we're supposed to have standards. That's what laws are supposed to be. That's what rules are supposed to be to follow. And it's if it's again, if it's not reinforced, if you don't draw attention to it and uphold the standard, you create a system of chaos.
Mhm.
And that's what happens in a lot of businesses that fall apart, is they just become chaotic messes.
That is true.
Man, I didn't know we were gonna go there with standards. That was an interesting
You never
topic.
know. We never know where we're gonna go with these things.
It's true. It's very true. So it's the new year, man. It's a new year. 2025 went by so fast. I couldn't believe how fast the holidays snuck up, and how we're recording this the day before Christmas Eve, but like it's here, and like where did 2025 go? What happened in 2025?
I'm always weird with time like that because it's in the short term, it feels like it goes fast sometimes. In the short term, it feels like it goes long, and then vice versa. In the long term, same things, right? So it's weird when you look at it. Like for me, going from going from like Thanksgiving to Christmas was like overnight for me, right? But then in the summer, it was like overnight for me. Okay, but the entire fall, the beginning of the school year for me was so long. It felt like it took forever to get in a groove and do these things, and it's like it's momentary, it's different. There's these different vibes, but it's like at the end of the day, like you're only living in the present,
Mhm.
right? You've have you ever lived in the past? Like you can't go
Mm-mm.
there. You
Nope.
can't go to the future. You can't go to the past. Like this is it.
This is
This is
it.
it. What we're doing right now. This is all there is.
Mhm.
So that time can change based on what you're doing, what you're involved with. So I always use an example of like a car accident.
Mhm.
Like when you get in a car accident, if you ever have, I'm sorry you have, but you could maybe understand what I'm about to say. Everything kind of slows down, right? So I believe this is part of our biology, our fight or flight, where we slow down. We may not be able to hear as well or see as well. So one of your senses usually goes down, so one of the other ones go up. What it allows you to do is understand how to fight or flight, get the hell out of there. Like that's how we're built. Human beings are built for their survival mechanisms or the hunting mechanisms to be able to do those things better in that moment. And adrenaline
Right.
forces this, and norepinephrine, and all these other things, chemicals are built into us. But how often does that happen in our week? Right. And I'm not saying it's sustained and long, but it's like, okay, there's something that you're really focused on because that's what that fight or flight is it's an ultimate focus. It's a laser focus. So if you're maybe focused on, for you, Tom, going on these baseball trips, maybe one of the baseball trips seems like, oh my God, this took forever to get to and to go through and to
Mhm.
do this, but it really was like a 1.5 day long thing,
Right.
right? Or something else that you're not really focused on, right? Like for me, the holiday season, because I don't do any of the shopping for gifts, and I'm as surprised as my kids are when they open their gifts. Like, "Oh, that's awesome what Santa got you." And my wife would be like, "We got her that." "Oh, that's you like that gift they got you? I guess." So so maybe the holiday season goes super quick for me because I'm not focused on it. You know, I'll put up the lights outside, but my wife does everything else. She loves it. The kids love it, but it goes by so quick because I'm not every day paying attention to who am I going to get this gift for? What cookies are we going to bake? What do we have to bring to Christmas Eve or Christmas Day? And, da, da, da. And it's like so it goes by overnight because I'm not focused on it. Maybe focus has a lot to do with how long or short your periods, your windows of time are.
That's an interesting concept, because that's I mean, when you think about it, that's part of enjoying the journey, being present, not worrying about getting to the results, just that it really is a hyperachiever, saboteur, destroyer in many ways.
Well, think about being in flow, right? In
Yeah,
your zone of genius, being in
yeah,
flow. In those times, you could be sitting here, me and you, when we get in flow, we could be talking and all of a sudden look up and like, oh my God, we have to go
right.
pick up the kids. We haven't eaten. We've been sitting here for 3 hours talking and we don't realize it.
Yep,
And there's other times we could be a little distracted and doing something. I'm like, oh my God, it's not time for that client meeting yet. Like, we still have another 15 minutes to wait. And that 15 minutes prior felt like forever because we're not focused. We're distracted and like,
right.
So I think focus s- could like either slow down or speed up time, depending on if you have it or if you don't.
Yeah, I think it could be I think it could do both, right? Because I think in flow, it kind of slows down, but the concept is that we've been doing this for a short amount of time. Whereas when you're focused, like, to use the idea of the baseball trips, like, yeah, I mean, there's so many things that we have planned already for the summer. I know my summer schedule already of when we're gonna be where, and it seems like it's so far away because there's so much to do before then, right? So we gotta get focused on what needs to be done before then, and time will still it's interesting. I gotta really pay attention to that this year.
Well, so here's what I'm saying: when you're really laser focused, time seems to slow down.
Yeah.
But when you're in flow, you're not really focused. You're just being. You're present,
Oh,
right?
that's a good way to look at it.
You're not focused. You just this is your natural state, and you have the
Right.
ability to be in that.
Right.
Yeah, you're not get and things can't distract you as much because you're in that flow state, but it's like that's where it's like, okay, maybe it goes by so fast because you lack the focus, and I'm not saying you're not a focused human being, you're in your natural state.
Yeah, I like the way you're putting that. Like, when you're in flow, it's just a natural situation. Everything just happens very, very smoothly, very seamlessly because there's flow, and focus is a very
Well,
intentional
stay there,
thing.
because then time goes by fast, right? It's just natural time goes by fast, just like this holiday season for me, it's just like, "Alright, Christmas is coming, natural." I don't have to consciously say, "I need to focus on this." Where my wife has been like, "Oh my god, this has been forever getting gifts," because she's so focused on each individual niece and nephew and mom and dad and kids and me to get the right gift, where I'm like, okay." It went by fast because I didn't have to focus. So maybe if you really are intentionally focusing, time slows down. If you're in a natural state or not focused, time speeds up.
That's a really good point. But the key to this is focus is intentional. That's what
Yes.
we're saying.
Yeah, yeah.
And flow is natural.
I'm saying
It's
you're choosing focus, or
Yep.
if you're in flow, you just your natural state.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what
Of getting shit done, not natural state, but natural state of getting shit done.
so then take our believe, behave, become model for a second. We are really creating focus because it's intentional on how to behave to become the thing that you want to become. But you also have to be focused on believing. Uh-oh, what did I just do? I opened up something.
Did. So, if we're bringing our clients and hopefully society as a whole, if we're bringing them this new understanding of believe, behave, become, your beliefs determine your behaviors determine who you become, right? That's what Tom and I really focused on. If we are creating a focus inside of that, that means, as I said earlier, time slows down, right? Because you're
Correct.
intentionally choosing the focus. Stay with me. You're intentionally choosing the focus, so time slows down. In the first 6 months of working with our clients, there's the first month where they're like, "Holy shit, this is awesome." And then the next 5 months when we work with somebody, that's when we're really focusing. And how many times in that are people like, Why aren't I getting the results already? Why aren't I getting the It's like because they've never focused. Time has never slowed down this much for them, where this may feel like what used to feel like 2 years now feels like 2 months. 'Cause they're paying so much attention to every detail, what they're doing, they're intentionally choosing, their sales meetings are different, their hiring is different, their organization of their business is different. They've never paid attention to it. They were just previously in flow. Doesn't mean flow was good or bad. It just means now we're intentionally focusing, so they may all of a sudden feel like, "I should be getting more results," because the time frame in their mind seems the same as what used to take years.
And look at us as coaches. Think about one of the guys that we've been talking about. There's a client that we have that just seems like it's taking forever to get progress made, but it's because we have been so intentionally focused on key aspects. So we have to remind ourselves too, sometimes we're slowing down time. We're slowing down time. That's such an interesting when you focus, you do slow down time.
Yeah, so then you're starting to expect the result much quicker
Correct.
than it naturally not naturally, but it actually can happen.
Correct. But this is why it's so important for people to have flow states in the midst of these focus periods, right? So, because there has to be some level of satisfaction or what have you, because what we're focused on, we have to try to find the flow too for some people so that they can feel like they're making the progress that they want to make and that they're seeing the results. Otherwise, that focus period could become very distracting and very challenging if we don't have periods of flow within it. I think not to use a word that I like to use, but it's a balance of flow and focus that's necessary, and sometimes when we're even struggling with someone, I think we have to remember when was the last time they were in a flow state? When was the last time they found themselves there?
It could potentially be, that there needs to be that balance between the 2. We should try it to see. But now what I'm thinking is there needs to be a reality check. So think about it, when time has slowed down so much for you, and what you've done in 3 hours feels like what you used to do in 3 days, okay? Let's just use that smaller metric. I'm gonna go a different one. What you've done in 3 days feels like what used to take 30 days, okay? I'm
Mhm.
using this for our coaching and our clients to think of it this way.
Okay.
So maybe someone's doing some things for 3 days and they're like, "Oh my gosh, but previously I would have, this would have brought me this result already." But no, they only worked 3 days, not the 30 it would normally take. So maybe to have a reality check in certain things, we have to set standards, Tom, and standards being like, okay, there's what we are hoping for is in this time frame, these things happen. We can meet this thing because we're not doing something like, we worked with someone recently where we're putting a systematic approach to their content and sales process, and we're saying like, just establish the playbook so you can carry out and execute this consistently for a quarter to see if you want to commit to it for a year, right? Well, we never established like, hey, let's have this thing done in X period of time,
True.
right? So that
True.
could be the reality check of like, hey, we think
Yep.
to establish this, it's going to take you this much time.
Yep.
Because then inside of that time frame, they may only be 20% of the way through and be like, I'm frustrated because I want to see more. But no, no,
Right.
no. It's just it feels slow. We think this should take you this long, 3 months, and it's only been 1 month. Like, whoa, oh yeah. And then the reality check would be like, oh yeah, it has only been a month. It feels like longer, but it's only been a month. Yeah, because you've been intentionally focusing on this now. So it does feel longer. So maybe that's a part for anybody listening is like when you really want to get things done and you're gonna be super focused and you know now, listening to this, time's gonna slow down. Set a standard of like, okay, this is what in a normal world it should take to get it done. But I'm about to be hyper focused on something. So I know at time's gonna feel like it goes on forever.
Very true, man. I love these conversations when we get to this because we just don't know where it's gonna go sometimes, and look at what we get out of it.
But no kill.
We coach ourselves in these calls.
We always do, yeah.
We really do.
We figure out stuff. But this is, I mean, this is our life. We're always trying to improve on what we do so we
Absolutely.
could help other people improve what they do.
100%.
All right, pal.
Alright, man.
Happy New Year. See you later.